Hi guys, today I'm joined by Bridget Gardner, Principal Director of High Performance Cleaning Solutions. Bridget has worked in the cleaning industry since 2001, first as a cleaning business operator and then as a qualified trainer, assessor, researcher and document writer. Bridget is a frequent contributor to the In Clean magazine and conference presenter, as well as a specialist in best practice in cleaning for sustainability, health and infection control. Bridget has put together a guide for cleaning for COVID-19 and is here today to discuss this. Welcome, Bridget.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Thanks for inviting me.
There are many sources of information out there on COVID-19 and some of them are conflicting. What sources have you used in your research to put together the guide?
You know, that was actually one of the main reasons that prompted me to do it. I was looking for information. I had about 10 phone calls from different clients and random people asking me for advice. And the information that was provided by the government, had it been the same level of detail as they do for just standard infection control, environmental cleaning services in hospitals, I wouldn't have needed to write it. But really what was happening was there's about 2 pages or websites produced by each different state department and very light on. And so as a result, that gap was filled by, you know, myriad internet experts and suppliers providing information. And as you say, it was really conflicting. So what I decided to do was to follow the health department information, not just from the federal government, also each state, and the Safe Work Australia have produced information, and the TGA, the Therapeutics Goods Administration, for information about disinfectants, and then compile it into something that was actually manageable and actionable. And that was really quite challenging, actually, because the information was so light on that I had to supplement it and research everything to find out more information about the disease, how it spread, what sort of PPE should be used. So I also pulled on other countries, like in the UK, the information from their health departments, and also America, the CDC, Centre for Disease Control, has some really good information. So I compiled that all together, but mostly making sure that whatever is in there was consistent with the regulations and guidelines by the Australian government.
So the first part of the guide covers planning. Can you tell us the main aspects of what a cleaning provider should be planning for with COVID-19?
So this is a really good question, because I think it's so important that the plans that you make as a company are not just based on guides alone, but they're based on your own risk assessment. So what I did was I produced a pandemic risk management plan. So the guide's also supported by 5 different templates that you can customize and put into action. And the first one with this risk management plan, I then used that framework to provide information about how to plan to mitigate risks to the occupants and to the cleaners from the spread of infection, to prevent them from getting sick, to prevent cleaners from inadvertently spreading it around the building while they're cleaning, because that is a really big risk, or not cleaning effectively enough, which is another risk. And then, of course, the risk to health from the additional use of disinfectants, such as fogging machines that are being used, and what sort of PPE cleaners should be using to protect themselves from those risks. And the third area, which is incredibly important, is business continuity, because cleaning businesses are having to quickly rearrange the way that they're working. If one cleaner goes sick, then everyone else that they've been working with will then need to go into quarantine. What happens to the company? Have you got contingencies in place? And how do you look after cleaners to reassure them? All these types of things, which is hand in hand, these 2 aspects, making sure you're cleaning well, but making sure your cleaning staff are well, I think is really the fundamental information that I wanted to be in this guide.
Yeah, it's so critical that our cleaners are supported and looked after. Particularly on the PPE question, I know cleaning providers are finding it difficult to obtain some PPE at the moment. And the government put out a guide to say that all cleaners should be wearing face masks, which quite often are just not able to be sourced. So it's going back to that risk of why they're suggesting it, which was to stop cleaners from inadvertently touching their face after they touch a surface. And so it's looking for a different control if we can't get that PP of how to actually control that risk.
So that's a really, really good point that you raised, Matthew, and I'm glad that you picked that up from the guide because, the risk is that the cleaners will actually inadvertently make themselves sick because the contamination may still be on the surfaces. It can actually last for 3 days. In some tests, they've shown that it can last for 9 days on the surface. So when the cleaners are cleaning, they're moving fast, they're exercising, and it's very easy just to wipe your nose, wipe your eyes, wipe your mouth, and that's how the virus gets into the body and can make the cleaners sick. So if we can't get masks, then what else can we do? Maybe just wearing bandanas, wearing protective eyeglasses is going to be the next best thing.
So there's obviously a difference between preventative cleaning and decontamination cleaning. So what are the key points to those tasks relating to COVID-19?
Yeah, look, I'm really glad you raised that as a question because there's a lot of terminology being thrown around. In fact, InClean just did a little short article online about that because we're using terms infectious clean, deep cleaning. People are running around with foggers in just as a prevention, not understanding why they're doing it. So I used those terms, preventative and decontamination, so it was really clear what you are actually trying to achieve. So a preventative clean is actually what you as a good company are probably doing already, which is going in and making sure you're focusing on frequently touched and high touch points, cleaning and disinfecting them, increasing the frequency with which you're cleaning, putting a real focus on making sure that the cleaning cloths themselves are clean, that they're being laundered after use. And so basically going in and making sure that there's no organic matter on the surfaces, that the viruses are then able to stay viable, as it's called, which then means that the next time, if someone has breathed onto that surface or touched that surface, the next people who are using it aren't going to get sick. So it's really important that preventative cleaning is happening now in the buildings where people are still working. A decontamination clean is very clear. That's when there's been a confirmed case of COVID-19 in one of the occupants in that building. When that happens, there's a whole set of procedures that you have to follow. So first of all, you've got to talk with the client, work out where this person was in the building. Then you've got to come up with a plan for being able to clean every surface, clean and disinfect every hard surface in the building, and using hot extraction carpet cleaning on the carpets and the upholstery because you can't clean them, and making sure that you've got really thorough PPE, so coveralls, making sure that the whole body is being covered, the clothing, so that the cleaners aren't spreading it on their clothing, or worse, taking it home on their clothing, covering their hair, making sure that they're washing their hands, using alcohol gel after every single room or even after different surfaces. So there's a lot more to decontamination clean. The risks are far higher for the cleaning company, and it's got to be done with a lot of care and diligence.
So now that you've covered that, where can people access your guide and what updates will you be providing?
Thank you for that. So on my website, you will see one of the menu bars. There's a tab called Coronavirus, and so that's where you get hold of the guide itself. For BSCAA members, they get a 10% discount, and that code is got from the BSCAA. And updates are regular and free to anyone who's bought it. So Matthew, you can be expecting to get one any day soon. I've been working on some updates because the TGA's announced that they're fast tracking their approvals for disinfectants that are registered as being able to kill coronavirus, which is really excellent. A whole lot more information by the Indoor Air Quality Association, etc., making changes. And so companies like yourself that have bought it will need to keep on top of all these updates. Can I ask you actually just how practical have you found the guide, and have you been making changes to your own practices on the basis?
Yeah, I've found the guide very practical. Good information on planning, and then obviously the actual tasks. We've had an increase from a number of clients for wanting preventative cleaning, which we haven't actually adjusted from our normal process for that high touch point cleaning. But we have had a request from one customer in particular who's had a confirmed case of COVID-19 on our availability to do a decontamination clean, and we have adjusted our standard operating procedure on that based on some of the information in the guide.
And is that because your practices were already of the standard, so it's like reassuring to see that what you were doing is actually best practice?
Yeah, so obviously we have made a few changes there where we could make improvements, but we have been doing cleaning in healthcare for about 10 years, and we did have some pretty good processes around preventative cleaning, around the use of microfiber, and around the proper use of disinfection. How the surface has to be cleaned first and then disinfected after that, and using the correct dwell time for the chemical.
Excellent.
Yeah. So can you just tell the viewers what your website address is?
Sure. So it's www.hpcsolutions.com.au. So HPC stands for High Performance Cleaning. So it's High Performance Cleaning Solutions. So if it's just easier if you go straight to the website and then look on the menu bar for coronavirus, and that's where you'll find it. But can I also say I've been publishing extracts from that guide in my blog and putting those on LinkedIn. So there's actually 3 really detailed articles if you just want free advice. Go straight to. I really do encourage you to do that, because I want everybody to know what the facts are. Everything I write is really well researched. So if you want a reliable source, and you don't want to buy the guide, or you're a client of Matthews, of Collins, then if you read that, then that'll give you a really good information about what you should be expecting from cleaning companies in this crisis.
Thank you, Bridget, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And thank you for putting together the guide with some really good practical information. It gives us as a business confidence that we're doing the right thing, and it's also helped us to tweak those few little areas where we could tailor our decontamination clean to the specifics of COVID-19.
No, you're really welcome, Matthew. I'm so glad to hear that, and all the best and stay safe out there.